I'm excited to announce that tickets are now for sale for the 2025 Novel Marketing Conference. The conference will be held in Austin, Texas on January 17th and 18th. And this is not a typical writer's conference where you learn how to write and publish a book. So, how is the Novel Marketing Conference different? Well, find out in this episode of Novel Marketing, the longest running book marketing podcast in the world. And there are 3 special ingredients to the Novel Marketing Conference. And the first is the training. You will learn book marketing that actually works. And the focus is on marketing. Often conferences focus on writing or publishing, and marketing is kind of a tacked on additional add-on. That is not the case with this conference. This conference is all about helping you sell more books. No more cookie cutter approaches that leave you stressed and overwhelmed. You're going to be learning the low stress path to success, which is knowing what to do and, more importantly, what you don't need to worry about. You will leave this conference with a written plan to help you attract readers and sell more books. And I'll talk more about the training here in a second, but I want to talk about the second special ingredient, and that is the writers groups. I put a lot of thought into how to make this conference special, and one of those things is the writers groups. So each author who attends the conference is put into a writers group of around 8 other authors, and you go through that whole conference with that group. They're your team. They will help you hone your pitch. They'll help you with your brand. They will help you with networking. You will get lots of chances to meet everyone, but you have a home base to start from. And we experimented with this last year, and it was a smashing success. Authors loved being in a writers group. They loved the friends that they made. A lot of the writers groups went out to dinner together and have stayed in touch after the conference, and that is exactly what I was hoping was going to happen. And we have a kind of magical sorting hat that we use, and by that I mean we manually place people in groups with other authors who we think they have the most in common with, and we do our best based off of who attends the conference. And this really is kind of the secret sauce of this conference. It's the most innovative thing that we do at the conference. There's other conferences that have good training, good speakers, even on marketing, but I don't know of any other conferences that use this kind of team-based approach. The third special ingredient is the interactive workshops. Sessions are packed with fun, interactive elements, and what allows us to do this is the fact that nothing is recorded. So you're free to say whatever, you're free to engage and not worry about something being recorded. And it also allows us to pause and put what we're learning into practice right away. You have a workbook that you'll be filling in the blanks and often doing strategy, and you're working on making that plan right there in the room. And at the end of the conference, that workbook is full of your precious notes that will be your guide for the rest of the year. And that's another reason why we do this conference in January, is that our goal is that workbook really will be your guides to help you make 2025 your best year ever as an author. So let me walk you through the schedule. So on Friday at 9 o'clock, we will open with I will open with a keynote. And then I will teach a class on how to craft an irresistible sales pitch for your book. This is the only session that's repeated from last year. And I think I will do this session at every conference from now on. And this session and the following group exercise. In this session, I teach you how to create a sales pitch for your book with lots of pauses. And you will be creating a sales pitch for your book, whatever your most recent book is, right there in the room. The students last year loved this exercise, and they loved the group exercise afterwards even more. So in the group exercise, what you do is you will pair off with one other person in the group, and you will practice your pitches on each other. And then you will gather together as a big group, and your partner will pitch your book to the group. And you're not allowed to say anything. You can only take notes. And you get to hear what elements of your pitch stuck in their head and which elements did not. This is so helpful. It's the sort of thing you can really only do in a live setting, and it's the sort of thing that's valuable every time you do it. Because my hope is you'll have a different book this year than you had last year, or at least your book has evolved enough where this exercise will be really helpful. It also doubles as a really great way to get to know the other people in your group while also pitching your book. Then we're having Austin's famous Torchy's Tacos. If you've never had Austin-style tacos, these are amazing. They will ruin all other tacos for you, though. I will warn you, you'll never be able to go to a fast food taco place again. Then in the afternoon, there will be a session called How to Grow Your Platform Without Using Social Media. And this session is taught by Sandy Cooper and Mary Kay Miller. These are the ladies who host the Writing Off Social podcast. They have refined and honed the technique of building a massive platform of readers without using any social media at all. And what they teach really does work. I'm really excited to have them at the conference. And after they finish, I will be talking about how to rapidly grow your email list. In this session, I will teach you how to quickly get your email list into the 4 digits. I have some techniques that I've been teaching for a long time that work, and they often get, sometimes in just a matter of months, sometimes in just weeks, you can go from dozens to hundreds and even thousands of people on your email list. And for a lot of authors, this makes all the difference because having nothing is a really hard place to start. But once you have an email following, you can use that to grow it even bigger. And then after that session, I have an interactive session where we're going to focus on email onboarding sequences, how to set up a drip sequence. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. By the time we get there, you will, and you won't just know what it is, but you'll also know how to create one, and you'll leave the conference with a plan to make your onboarding sequence amazing. Then CJ Malacy will teach a class called How to Kickstart Your Debut Book. CJ Malacy has successfully run 3 Kickstarter campaigns for her novels. I've had her on as a guest talking about crowdfunding, and she's also a crowdfunding consultant helping other authors have successful campaigns. And so if you're wanting to crowdfund your book, if you're wanting to have Kickstarter help you raise a lot of money very quickly for an upcoming novel, she will teach you how to do that. Next is Saturday. So Saturday morning, I will be teaching a session on marketing psychology. In this session, I will teach you how to leverage the psychology that already exists in your readers' heads to get them really excited about your book and ready to buy it today rather than tomorrow, and how to get them to read it today rather than tomorrow, which is key. Having someone buy your book and never read it causes them to never buy any other book from you again, especially in that same series. The next session is called Best-Selling Book Covers, and this will be taught by Jamie Foley. She's a creative director at Enclave Publishing. She's an award-winning author. She knows a lot about book covers. And you may be thinking, oh, but I'm traditionally published. Why do I need to know about book covers? And you do, because you will be asked by your publisher about your book cover, what your thoughts are. And most authors have no idea how to articulate to their publisher how to make their book cover better. And often their feedback, if the publisher follows it, makes the book cover worse. But if you're indie published, this is a critical session because the book cover is the most important element of your marketing. And if your book cover is weak, then all of your marketing will be weak. After Jamie's presentation, I will be then leading a workshop where you will create a book cover design brief for your book. Whether your book is finished or not, you will complete the conference with a design brief that you can hand to a book cover designer or hand to your publisher that will help them give you an amazing book cover. Next, we will have lunch, and lunch will be provided by Rudy's Barbecue. This is what we did for Saturday lunch last year, and people loved it. Rudy's Barbecue is the best barbecue in the world, or at least the best barbecue that I've ever had, and I live in Texas. So I got to pick the barbecue, and this is the best. And if you don't believe me, come and try it. I think it'll change your mind. Then after lunch, I will be teaching a session on the art of the best-selling book launch. So as you know, I no longer teach the book launch blueprint. That course, which was our most popular course of all time, has been retired along with James L. Rubart. But I will be teaching the highlights of how to conduct a book launch. And so this will be a distillation of what I've been helping authors do for years and helping them have successful book launches. And then Kara Swanson will teach a class called 7 Secrets for Successful Street Teams. This is like a launch team, but this is Kara's specific strategy. And Kara is an expert at this. She is the co-founder of the Author Conservatory, and she's helped a lot of young authors have incredible launches, not just of their books, but of their entire careers. And then after she gives that presentation, I will be hosting a book launch plan workshop where you are going to, with my help, put together a book launch plan. So not only are you going to leave the conference with a pitch, and not only are you going to leave the conference with a design brief for your book cover, but you're also going to leave the conference with a written plan for your book launch. Whether it's in a month or in a year, having a plan, a good plan, will make all of the difference. And then finally, we will round it out with a session that I'll be teaching called Superpowered Productivity in 2025. I like to end the conference with a real productivity focused session. Again, this is a January conference. It's all about setting up 2025 for success. And so I'll be talking about tools and techniques that you can use to do more with less effort so that you're less exhausted, so you're less fatigued and more creative. If you know what you're doing, it makes all of the difference. Now, I should warn you, there's a couple of weird things about this conference. The first I already alluded to, and that is that there's no recordings. The focus is on the live event. And I've found that this really transforms the event because a lot of conferences record everything, and those recordings are really dull, but everyone tells themselves they'll listen to them, and then they never do, and then they don't end up getting any of the good training that they would have gotten if they had just attended the conference. And then it also changes the way that the teaching is done. People are a little bit more caged, they're a little less free, and it's nice to have the freedom to do something that's not being recorded for posterity. And we did this last year, and it really is amazing. The other magical thing is people start taking notes and actually listening. The sessions become more interactive, they become more fun, and this is key, more implementable, because we pause a lot to give you a chance to apply what you just learned. And these pauses aren't very interesting in a recording, but they're life-changing for folks who are there live in the room. And I think it's important to embrace real life and to do things live and not everything digital all the time, especially for the Novel Marketing Conference that's based off of the Novel Marketing Podcast. Because if you want recordings of me, there's no end of recordings of me. The other weird thing about the conference is that there's no pitches or appointments. And this is something that I've put a lot of thought into. And this is based off of something that I experienced at one of the conferences I went to when I first started in this industry. There was one conference up in Dallas that didn't have pitches or appointments, and its attendees had some of the best careers of any conference I've ever been to. So why? Why is not having literary agents and editors at a conference make the conference better? Well, in a couple of ways. One, faculty appointments add complexity and cost. You have to pay for those agents' time in your ticket price, and each one has to be flown in, housed, and oftentimes paid to be there. And it really favors unpublished traditional authors, right? Indie authors have to pay for those agents. They have no intention of pitching those agents. And traditionally published authors who already have an agent or already have a contract also don't benefit. So it's really only for a really narrow slice of the people coming to the conference. And we find that a lot of people who came to the Novel Marketing Conference last year were already well along in their writing careers. They were writing their second, third, fourth, fifth book. Sure, there was a lot of folks who were there who hadn't yet published their first book, but I want this to be the kind of conference that more advanced authors are happy to come to, which if you're a beginning author, you want to be around those advanced authors. And so not having agents actually helps attract those advanced authors. But the other, and I think this is a more fundamental issue, is that faculty appointments create a class system or a caste system because attendees tend to focus on networking with the other faculty rather than with each other. And authors at a pitch-free conference tend to thrive more in the long run because they're focused on making friends with other authors, which is where the real value is at a writer's conference. You're the one who is going to make you a success. So don't lean or look for a faculty member to make you a success. And the other thing is that faculty appointments tend to lead to poor teaching because faculty get booked not by how good they are at teaching, but rather how good they are at attracting authors who want to pitch them. Whereas I have picked these faculty, hand-picked them. They've all been guests on the podcast before, and I picked them not just because they're a good teacher, but because they're a good teacher for that specific topic. And I found this dramatically improves the quality of the education when you're not just getting the very best teacher, but the very best teacher for that specific topic, right? It's not just anybody teaching you how to get off of social media and build a platform without it. It's the hosts of the podcast that talk about nothing but that, right? These teachers really know what they're talking about. And the other thing is that having faculty appointments changes the vibe, right? Because that top agent's time is limited, and you pitching him is a time that another author is not pitching him. And so it creates competition and rivalry between authors, and I don't want to do that. Finally, faculty appointments attract unteachable attendees. There's a kind of author who thinks they've written a masterpiece and they have nothing to learn from anyone. And all they need is to pitch their book to an agent, and that agent will throw money at them and make them a success. Now, this author is deluded, but the kinds of conferences that have a lot of pitching tend to attract a lot of that kind of author. And that author, after they do their pitch, they often spend the rest of the conference grumbling about various things because the person that they were pitching was not enthused about their book, right? Because they are deluded. We don't want deluded people at this conference. We want people who are clear-eyed that your success is up to you. The faculty who came last year were stunned at the caliber of attendee that we had. And I chalk up a lot of that to the lack of appointments because we attracted the kind of attendees who saw themselves as responsible for their own success. And that's who you want to hang out with. One more thing I should mention, there's a pre-conference workshop that's smaller. It's limited to just 20 people. Last year, we did the pre-conference workshop on building a website where everybody built a website in one day. This year's pre-conference workshop is about advertising. So if you attend the pre-conference workshop, you will leave that day with a Facebook ad and an Amazon ad running on Facebook and on Amazon. So this is a super ticket that gives you 3 days of conference rather than 2 days of conference. And it also gives you headshots. We'll be providing professional headshots from Sweet Bay Media. We'll be taking photos of authors. So you'll have a new, refreshed professional headshot and ads going into the conference for everyone else. There are some requirements if you want to come to the pre-conference workshop. We recommend that you bring a laptop so you can set the ads up, have a book for sale on Amazon, and be willing to spend some money on the ads. You won't have to spend a lot, but there is some cost to advertising. Speaking of costs, let's talk about the different kinds of tickets and how much they cost and the hotel. So one advantage of doing this in January is that this is the slow season for Austin, which means I was able to negotiate great deals on hotels. So far I've heard back from the Hilton Garden Inn, which is walking distance away, and they are offering their hotel at $99 a night, including breakfast. And if you split that with someone, then it's half of that. So it's a really great deal on the hotel. And this is one of the things, some conferences look cheap, but then the hotel or the event center that it's taking place in is $250 a night. And even when you split that with another author, it's still kind of pricey. And most of the money for the conference ends up going to the hotel. So this is one of the reasons why I like hosting my conference in January. One, it's great for planning the year and starting the year off right. The second advantage is that the hotels are cheaper for the exact same hotel because not as many people want to travel in January. Although I'll say Texas is a great place to visit in January because it's probably not as cold as wherever you're coming from if you're coming from somewhere farther north. And most places are north of Texas. So the standard ticket is $4.99 for the early bird pricing. As of right now, there's only 72 seats left. This gives you full access to the Friday and Saturday of the conference, and it gives you the meals, the lunch, both of those days, and it comes with you being at a table with your writers group during the conference. Super tickets, this would be the everything in the standard ticket plus the Thursday advertising workshop plus the professional headshots. Super tickets are $8.99, and there are only 19 seats left for the super ticket as I record this. So for those of you listening in the future, these may be sold out. You can check by going to novelmarketingconference.com. I'll have the real-time number of seats left. We also have something called a gallery ticket. This is a seat in the back of the room. It does not include a writer's group or a table to sit at. Last year, we called this a spouse ticket, which was kind of awkward because people were buying them for siblings and assistants and things like that. So this is geared for like an industry professional or if somebody who's coming along with an author who's not interested in being in a writer's group, but still wants to be in the room and still wants to eat the Rudy's barbecue. So there's only 22 of those left as of this recording. And I really do encourage you to go to novelmarketingconference.com to learn more about the conference, because this really is a special conference. And I think the most special thing about it is that you get to connect with the community, right? Because we have a community here with this podcast. You're interacting with me and with the other authors on our live patrons only calls. You're interacting with each other on our social network at authormedia.social. For our growing community on YouTube, you're interacting with each other on the comments there. But there's something special about meeting in real life. Real life is where we live as human beings. And I want the training to be transformational, but I also want to help authors make lifelong friends with other authors. Because when it comes down to it, your success is as much about who you know as what you know. And authors who challenge each other, when iron sharpens iron, that's when they find success. It was C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien challenging each other and encouraging each other that made both of them better authors. And I should say that we have a Patrons Appreciation Ice Cream Social the Thursday evening before the conference starts. That's open to all patrons, whether you have a ticket to the conference or not. And I'll have more information about that on Patreon. Speaking of patrons, I want to thank our new patrons who joined in August 2025. It's Christy Sheridan, Ryan Day, Andrea Pearson, and Lori Zolas. And you can become a patron at novelmarketing.com/patron. And quick personal update. As I record this, the due date for baby number 4 has come and gone. It was 3 days ago, and there's still no baby, much to the chagrin of my wife, who would really like to have the baby no longer inside. So if the baby keeps waiting, they're going to induce labor soon. So don't expect an episode next week. We are going to have a baby one way or another. So please pray for my wife in these final days. The Novel Marketing Podcast is a production of authormedia.com, and you can find the blog version of this episode at authormedia.com/431. And you can learn more about the Novel Marketing Conference at novelmarketingconference.com. I'm Thomas Umstattd Jr. saying thank you for listening and live long and prosper.